Sooners of Oklahoma at 12-0 and still looking for respect nationwide.
What is going on, Sooner Nation? Thank you all for tuning into another episode of the Barry and Mack Show. As always, myself, Barry, personal trainer, sports forms coach out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And alongside me tonight, former Sooner wide receiver, 2000 national champ, Mr. Damian Mackey. How are we doing tonight, D-Mac?
What's going on, B? How I'm doing? I don't know how I'm doing, man. Tough loss yesterday. Tough week personally. My dad's memorial was Friday. It was good to get it done and behind us, and you know what I mean, just kind of provide that closure. But we got football tonight, so let's talk about it. Niners playing the Cowboys. That's a grudge match. I know a lot of Sooner fans are Cowboys fans. Y'all can miss me on that one. Niners till I die, baby. But nah, man, it's good to be on. We got a lot to talk about. Saturday, we saw some things that were pretty good. Especially the first half in terms of continuity and at least a scheme. I could actually look at some X's and O's, and that was pretty cool. Second half, they adjusted. I'll talk about the adjustment they made and how it shut everything down. And then, defensively, man, the team is starting to show cracks. Those guys are out there a lot. However, we're just not fundamentally sound or fundamentally smart. And so those two things are things that I think are things we can fix. We need to fix. Last 3-4 games of the season, bro. The way Bama's playing, that's going to be a tough win. Game, just period. A home game helps, but we don't turn the ball over. We'll see what happens. Missouri's a game. If Cook's hand is as bad as they say it could potentially be, that's a game that's going to be more closer to a toss-up. And then, of course, Maine. We gotta focus on bowl game. We got to focus on recruiting. We got to focus on who the hell our OC is going to be. And so let's see what's going on.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it, man. I mean, now you're looking at you got to get a main win and then one more right now at this point. But before we dive into it, I want to remind everybody, today's show brought to you by OU Insider, OUinsider.com. Go over there, get yourself a membership. If you want to know all the insight that is to be heard about the offensive coordinator search, it's going to be a big deal. All of it's going to be over there on the site. If you want to keep up with recruiting, if you want to know what the recruits care about right now in terms of the offense, or what's important to them, if you want to get some interviews and some insights and some blurbs that are a little more access than just your normal site, than on Twitter, then go over to OUinsider.com, get yourself a membership. And as we talked about, now that OU does have some semblance, or at least in this game, look like some semblance of an offensive scheme, DMAC, we will go over that on our 299 page over there on the member page on YouTube. Going to do it just like we've done in past videos. So grab yourself a thing over there. We're really excited to bring that to you guys. It has been tough with the offense that they've thrown out there. Not been a lot of good to look at. But to recap the game and maybe just talk a little bit about the positive things we saw. I said on X that OU is still a long way away from being a championship level offense. They're not as far as what we maybe thought, but that they still have a long way to go. The offensive line is going to be all in the comments tonight, DMAC, and I think we will obviously discuss that and talk about what OU does there going forward. Do they just scrap the whole damn thing and play nothing but freshmen? Do they change strategy? Like, what is going on there? But I think something was clear from the onset in that, and they talked about it on the broadcast, OU scaled down the playbook. Joe John talked to Jackson before the game and said, hey, man, what is it you like? What do you want to get put in? Where do you feel comfortable? And this was the first game, and maybe we'll start here. It was the first game where it looked like Jackson actually had some easy stuff. The check down was there. The run game didn't seem – this is the best the run game had looked all year. Maybe the opening game of the year against Temple looked a little – but that's Temple, right? Ole Miss has a good defensive line. They have talent on that side of the ball. And there were lanes. Parker Thune posted over there on X that there were spots where Javonte had a lot of grass to get, and the offensive line did succeed. Most of the sacks, and I believe shout out to George Stoya over there on Scoop. He might have been him who posted the number that, no, you know what? It was Gabe Eichert that I want to say 5 or 6 of the sacks that Ole Miss had out of their 9, might have been 10 total by the end of the game. I think they may have recounted, but it's 9 or 10. 5 to 6 of them, that was the one that was debatable, came on the final 10 plays, D-Mac. So you got to say, what's going on there? Why is that such a struggle when you start out so well? Jackson had a highlight play for his career. The throw to 88 to Jordan was a fantastic play. That was the stuff that you talked about having Jackson. You said before he started that he has the talent to go out there and win you a game, and that's why you felt good. And I think we saw all of the attributes in this one that lends itself to saying Jackson does have an arm. He's got the legs, and when he can be decisive and know where to go with the ball, has the check down, then he looks good. But let's talk about that. It looked easier. Can you break down why it looked easier?
So a couple things obviously come to mind. What week was it when you were like, Mack, what would you do with the playbook? And I said I'd scale it down, get good at about 8 to 10 run plays, 8 to 10 pass plays, a couple quick game, a couple action plays, and just know your stuff. To me, that just made too much sense, and it took too long for us to get to it. But it was really good to see Saturday. Saturday, we saw some very clear, distinct Leach concepts. We ran a play 3 or 4 times. It's partly why 10 got so many catches. I think the other part is Joe Johns' his position coach. But we ran spot. It's a triangle concept. It's a beautiful deal. The receiver runs off the corner. The tight end sits on the backer, and he either screens the backer away from the running back who's running to the flat, or the back holds the tight end and then we throw it to the running back. And if you guys notice, you guys saw us hit the sit route 3 or 4 times to Bauer Sharp, and then you saw us hit the running back on the flat 2 or 3 times. It's an easy read. It's one guy. The check off of that is if you want to take the deep route play side, you can take it. But that it just makes too much sense for us to not have run that much sooner in the season, to pick up easy 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards. And we did it multiple times. Gets your quarterback confidence. It gets him in the groove of the game, right? Just really good stuff. So that's one thing that I saw that we did that I thought was really good. The other thing that you could clearly see was Joe John made an emphasis to get on the edges in the run game. We ran a ton off tackle, and it was really just outside zone. I gotta see it. I don't think we pulled the guard very often. I don't know. We ran that kind of like a little counter play where the quarterback would move and the running back would get it and whatever. But I don't like
Levy stuff, right? Inside outside zone is a lot of what he did a year ago.
Well, Levy's inside, and Levy's a lot of inside. The outside stuff is, I mean, yeah, he has it. Sure, he does. He has it. So the point is, we weren't running that, and we did. And then we ran some gap scheme on the outside too. I got to give props to Barnes. Barnes probably had his best game of the season. Again, like you have to do that with the space of relativity. Barnes ran well. You just wonder what it would be like there was a guy who could just really make people miss and be a threat at the second and third level, because he's still not a threat. You never feel like he's gonna pop it. He got through some trash and he showed a little more vision. But still, right, leaves some to be desired. Not gonna talk crap about him because he played hard, played well, ran the ball well, caught the ball well. You know what I'm saying? So one of his best games as a Sooner. But immediately you see Joe John is giving Jackson Arnold an opportunity to be in a place of comfort. And I almost feel like he said, hey, it felt like they were asking Jackson what he liked or what he could be good at, versus Joe John saying, we're going to run this stuff because it's easy, right? There's going to be some easy reads, very clear reads, pre-snap reads. And that's what we need. Pre-snap reads. Before the ball is hiked, we can see the guy, wherever he goes, throw the other way, throw it down, throw it accurately. And then when that happens, your quarterback starts to get a little confidence. And it felt like Jackson started to get into a little groove, especially in the first half, running the ball, extending plays. Obviously, the big touchdown before the second quarter ended. Good stuff. I will say this, though. Jackson misses on accurate throws. His accuracy is an issue when people are open. That's one. Number two is Jackson misses on under and in cut routes. It
Mm,
doesn't look like they're open, but they're running away. They stuck their foot in the ground and are running away. A half a yard on an in cut is wide open, right? So if a fan is watching it, they're like, oh, he's kind of covered. But if the quarterback anticipates where the ball is supposed to go, and the DB's a half yard behind you, and the ball is in front of you, they cannot get there. It's a perpendicular angle. There's no way for them
which
to undercut the
Dart
ball.
did. That was the stuff that Dart did complete in
Oh,
the game
those anticipate. I mean,
consistently.
and then if you just anticipate where the window is, the receiver knows where the window is. Throw the ball in the window. The receiver will get to the window when the ball comes. And so that's another thing that again, that's reps. These are things that I feel like Jackson can improve upon in time. And then I would say the third thing, it still just bothers me when he slides. Again, if Baker is sliding because he's cooking, Chef Baker or something like that, I'm not tripping. But Jackson, we struggle to get first downs, bro.
Yeah.
Dive and get the extra 4 yards instead of starting your slide, and a 6 yard gain is now a 3.5 yard gain. Then he kind of like trots back to, it just, to me, it just looks like a front runner. Like, bro, go be a dog. Go out there and show folk you're fighting for every yard. And he did do it a couple
Yeah.
times. It looked to me like coach said something to him, because there's plays, the defender's 4 yards away and he starts this cute slide and we gain 3 yards. And it's like, you could have took two more
Yeah.
steps, dove, and got 8 yards.
That's a winner slide. That's a winner
Man,
slide.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're up 17. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking cute. No,
Yeah.
bro, we haven't scored 17 points in 4 games. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro,
Jeez, man.
we haven't scored
Oh,
17 points. So those are the plays where I just think that he took two really good steps in the right direction. The second half we'll obviously talk about a little later,
sure.
but seeing him have success, seeing the offensive line move Ole Miss's defensive line some. Guys, they created holes. They really did. And both
They did.
gap um, schemes and zone schemes, which was pretty cool to see. It tells me that um the level of desire we are seeing was up because they have more belief in the coach who was calling plays this Saturday.
So we'll talk about the pass blocking at the end of the game. And to me, it comes down to technique with every single one of them. I am not an offensive line guy, but I am a movement guy. And I know what needs to be coached from a strength and performance standpoint. I know what offensive linemen need to do. And I know what it looks like when it's done right. And there's a lot being done wrong on the edges with that offensive line. Let's talk a little bit of first half defense, because first half defense looked pretty daggum solid, D-Mac. I think we'll just break this thing up into two halves today, because the second half was just a story in and of itself. But the defense played well. There was a lot of good. The defensive line, Jaden Jackson again he is going to be
He may be the
top.
best player on the defense. He may be the best player on the
He
defense.
may be the best player on defense. He consistently whips his guy. Ethan Downs also had a pretty good game again. If he could just get home, that is where you want the development to happen, because RMT was relatively quiet this game from a pass rush standpoint. You had PJ Adebawore, who still has not hit that next gear. And these are the games when you play a team like Ole Miss, like Alabama, like LSU, where you have to level up and match their guy with your guy. That is when you need a PJ to step up. You need your superstar 5-star player to be able to go in there and get done what needs to get done. But there still was a lot of good. Felt like the linebackers in the first half played well. There were some stops in the run game. Ole Miss did find some stuff out on some of that outside the hash pass game, and that maybe is where I want to take it after this. But give me your first thoughts on what the defense did early on in the game in order to mitigate a lot of what Ole Miss wanted to do. Kiffin's an offensive guy, man. He wants to go out there and score points. And Venables, at the end of the day, they scored 26. The OU's offense stalls a few times, but OU's defense in the first half looked pretty good. Why was that?
Well, a couple of things come to mind, right? One thing BV does well is he disguises zone blitz. He disguises his zone blitz. BV's going to run zone 80-20. He's an 80-20 guy. A lot of people were asking me on OU Insider today. We're going to talk about the corners. I'm actually going to talk about the corners first half because they got beat a little bit in the first half too. But BV likes to show you two high or single high. And I think this game we showed a lot more single high pre-snap. I got to go back and look. But he likes to show you the impression that it could be man. And of course, the impression that we could come. But if you break it down and look at the film, guys, PV comes less than 20% of the time. And if you're talking about more than five, I mean, it's very rare that we bring more than five. It's very rare that we bring one, unless we're bringing both middle backers from the A gap. And it's very rare that we bring six. He just doesn't believe it. BV wants eyes on the football. That's his philosophy. BV wants to confuse you pre-snap. He wants people moving around, and then he wants at the snap of the ball as many people as possible who can see the ball so that they aren't tricked. And what happens is it limits the big play, right? If the guys can see what's coming, it limits the big play. The problem is teams make adjustments. And so what we were doing was canceling the AB gap because they wanted to run their inside zone. And they run it like a lead, they run it like a power, they run it like a delay. I like some of the stuff they run. Some of the stuff is right up the A gap. Some of the stuff is really slow and they get the lineman to get in place and then they try to get behind it. We were killing it. And it was pretty cool to see our it was really the backers. Kip and Danny killed that stuff, by the way. You people may not like it. People may like it. I know people are kind of down on him right now, but Kip Lewis is the best backer on the team right now. Kip Lewis is playing sound. He's playing physical. He makes the tackle when the tackle is there, and he makes plays when the opportunity is to go make plays. Danny is still has the ability to make a play, and he misses, and it's crazy, right? He has like every game. It's like the first series of the game, he has a kill shot. He had another one against Ole Miss, first series of the game. Boom, Danny has a really solid tackle in there, and it kind of gets him going. But it's a fundamental. It's a fundamental of him playing inside out. And really, it's the thing we talked about against Tennessee, right? It's reaching. Danny reaches versus runs through you with his hips. If he runs through you with his hips, he's going to cancel stuff. He doesn't. Kip does, and Kip's still a little light in the butt. Um, but but Kip is going out there. I mean, Kip's in the fray. Kip's in the open field. Kip is in the flats. He's playing well. He really is, and I think Danny is still playing well too. But what I've noticed, secondary backers have all regressed. 11, he's around the play, but you don't really see him having an impact much anymore. 20 is very young. I will say 24 is also playing well. I think 24 is just a backer. To be honest with you, like to me, it seems to
They
me like
play him like a backer.
he's a
He
Sam
plays
backer.
more like the Keenan Clayton kind of style. He's almost a carbon copy of old 22 on the 08,
That's a, I think
09 team.
I think that's a good. He's a little bigger than him. Keenan
He
was
is
more like a
bigger.
strong safety playing Sam, but I like that comp. That's a decent comp. I also think he's likened to the kid number 7 who we stole from A&M. I always bring him up. Gosh, I forgot his name, but we stole him from A&M
Oh,
on
Corey Nelson.
Corey Nelson. That's who I
Corey
think he
Nelson, who
plays
was a
like,
hell of a player, man.
I think he has that type of ceiling. But anyway, first half. So Ole Miss is trying to figure us out. And what I noticed, and I'm like, what the H is going on? Why are we getting beat? And I'm like, I'm like, is he really this bad in man coverage? Is Malone really struggle this much in man? I went back to JV football and I said, they're not man. They were playing a matchup zone. If you go back, I think Kanai gets beat in man once, the one where they were the hook and go. I got to go back and watch pre-snap because you don't really see it. You just see the quarterback throw the ball. I can't see the corner. He's off the screen.
The
But
one
I
that
can
was like the
believe
go ball on the hash. Is that the one you're talking about?
they run a stutter and go. I don't know. The TV
Yeah.
version, you don't really get to see it. You just see the ball in the air and you see Kanai kind of like, damn. But
Okay.
I'm fairly confident even on that play. They're in zone. They're in zone. And this is my beef with Coach V. And if he hears this, this is the same stuff we would beef about in practice 25 years ago. Here's the deal. Coach Venables wants to play man and put backers in positions to go make plays. The game has changed so much since I played. Backers are liabilities, right? It used to be backers could just cover the flats, cover the curl, maybe carry a seam route, got a read screen. Now everybody's running over routes, ugly digs, right? And those are all backer plays, dick routes. All of those plays are designed to beat BV's philosophy. Well, Mike wanted to play man, and a lot of times up man, and bring more than the quarterback could or more than the offense could protect, right? And force
Mhm.
their hand. Guys, there were literally games where they would be arguing on the sidelines. Like Bob would be like, you'd see Bob do this because he's trying to cover. God damn it, we gotta pick the damn whatever, right? Whatever the front, whatever the coverage is gonna be. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because you watch us, we're in this. I don't want to call it stupid, but we're in this damn zone and we're putting all our faith in backers who are having to read RPO, who are having to read running back, and you've got receivers and tight ends in that middle area killing us. They're killing us. And so it's one of the dead areas of our defense. And what I think happened is Ole Miss figured out, oh, they're going to zone us up. And I'll get to the DB technique here in a second. But Ole Miss has said, oh, they're going to zone us up. We're going to go 1v1 because guys, the zone is zone, but it's really man, and that's why to the casual fan, it looks like the DBs are just getting burnt. Reality, it is, it's zone. It's a matchup zone. So all zone responsibilities are if guys go deep, you got to go with them. So every time you saw our guys get beat, you could tell like they had their man. But this is how you can distinguish zone from true man. You watch and see how the corner turns. If the corner
Mhm.
turns and faces the field so he can see the ball, the quarterback, and everyone else, that's zone, right? The corner's hoping the safety saw what they saw and they're going to be over the top, right? The corner is seeing if there's something coming their way so they can drop off of it. That's zone responsibilities. You will never ever 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 see a DB in man coverage turn to the field. They will turn to the man. Right. And if you watch Malone's, when Malone gets beat, he turns to the field. If you watch Kanai, when Kanai gets beat, he turns to the field. So here's my problem. This is my problem. If we're going to do that, which that's BV's philosophy, I'm not mad at it. We've got to reroute. We've got to get our hands on the guy. We've got to break up the chemistry because if you don't, it doesn't matter if it's zone or man. And I kind of sympathize with the DBs because you know how hard it is to, in your mind, say, if somebody runs an over route into my zone and I'm not here, I'm in trouble. Where, you know what I'm saying? If it's man, I got to follow my man. When my man goes,
Mhm.
I follow my man, right?
Sure.
But if it's zone, you're going to get your ass cussed out. And by the way, teams have killed us on over routes or deep outs. They've gotten us on those shake corner routes, right? And so I look at the DBs, they're not doing themselves any favors. I'm not making any excuses for those guys. Somebody say, yeah, Eli knows how to, for some reason, he doesn't get toasted. So salute to that.
Because
But
Eli
it's
is very physical at the point of attack,
but
and
he's
he
playing off
throws off
too.
timing really well.
He's off the
He
line
he
too a
still is
lot. He's
better with his
smart.
hands.
No,
That's
what I'm
true,
saying
but
that
he
I don't
makes
I don't
way more contact.
I saw him 7 yards off the ball a ton. So you can't make contact
Yeah.
7 yards off the ball. He's just
Yeah.
better at reading recognition. When he's up tight, you're right. He's gonna put his little hand. Do you see the guy try to punk him? And he did get punked on one, but he
Oh,
made the tackle.
yeah.
He made the tackle. He made the tackle. But anyway, to that, it's you imagine if you're Ole Miss, you're in the first quarter, you're like, okay, they're running stops, they're running outs, they're running stuff, and our guys are able to stay with it. Then they say, hey man, just run by them because they're although these are zone principles, and I'm sure their guys in the box can see, hey, they're playing zone, it's really a matchup man. If you're matched up on that single side by yourself, it's man. There's no one else coming. And that's what really just irks my soul. It's like that's hard on the corners and that's hard on the backers, right? It puts us in a position where we are reacting versus we imposing. And I said this on OU Insider too, and I'll pass it back to you, Barry. Um, it just feels to me like this season, with an offense that's hard pressed to find explosive plays, with an offense that is hard pressed to score 2 or 3 offensive scores in a game, we should have a defense that is trying to manipulate explosive plays on defense. I wouldn't be I wouldn't be upset if in a given game we got 4 sacks and 2 forced fumbles and we still gave up a couple deep balls. Especially if we're in man and Kanai is getting beat when he's truly in man. Okay, Kanai, you're 1 yard
Mhm.
off the ball. Force him inside. Stay on his upfield shoulder, right? Like to me, that's a technique that you could teach a 6'2.5", 4'4", 5'40" dude with long arms, right? And it's what K-State did, and it nullifies all that timing, all those timing routes. You can't run none of that crap. That stuff is out the window. The quarterback has time to see it. The quarterback has to be able to find where the receiver's going to go, and he's got a DB on his ass. It's hard. I'm telling you. That's why teams like LSU, Alabama, A&M, last night, those guys get to 3rd and long, go watch how they play coverage. They either are bump or they're 7 yards off the ball and they're bringing pressure and everybody can see the ball while they're in man. Watch us. We're in 4, or we may show pressure, but we jump into a zone and there's always an in cut coming behind a backer running some type of ugly dig or some type of over route. They'll go under a backer, over a backer. That backer they go over can't see them. They just stop where they're not. Quarterback's going to hit it in the window. It's football. So yeah, man, I look at the offense first half or defense first half. Ole Miss made adjustments in the second quarter. They started stressing us down the sidelines, making big plays. Our corners didn't recover. I think that's a technique and coaching issue as much as it is a player issue. But I think people are saying, yeah, but what about Eli? Hey, Eli is playing well in what he's being asked to do. So we definitely have to give props there. I just know it's difficult. It's difficult for a DB to be asked to play zone principles while a man is really stressing you with man routes.
Well, and Ole Miss has good receivers. And speaking of the A&M LSU game, I was eating at a place in Tahlequah last night. That's a seafood joint up there, and man, they had the LSU game on. A lot of LSU folks out there. That this place spells their. If anybody in the comments knows what it is, go and put them in the comments. But they spell their name with the EAUX. That's how they let you know they're a bunch of LSU fans up in this restaurant. But you're right, man. Eli Bowen. I'll do a video on him. It's coming up. He's got the best feet at the cornerback position. He's so light and quick and decisive with what he does that he stands out, and he's incredibly physical for whatever he is. Even at his size, he is very, very, very strong. He is a guy who just he knows how to play the spot. He is, and I know we're throwing names. He is very reminiscent of Derek Strait in terms of he doesn't have the length. I think Derek had longer arms and he had more athleticism. Derek had a vertical that was just ridiculous, but Eli is a good athlete, and he's so good and decisive with his movement, and he has great hips. If you have great, I think feet. It's not that feet matter more than hips, but like when people talk hips, you're also talking feet. Like you got to be able to move your feet to move your hips, and he just has all of it. And that's why I think he's going to end up playing himself into an NFL DB, right? And I don't know if people saw that coming, but it's a great evaluation. I think OU still has guys out there like Kanai and like Woody who struggle to flip the hips soon enough and who are just a second late in anticipation. And this comes down to just what are you looking at? Where are your eyes? What are you paying attention to that the receiver's doing? And it's a struggle, man. And OU had some easy stuff in the second half, or what appeared to be easy stuff that they've stopped at different times this year. And Ole Miss just basically took throws to the sideline the whole second half, and it was easy. They wanted it across the middle, they got it. They wanted it to the sideline, they got it. And I think this is going to be something that the rest of the teams they play this year, probably Maine included, they just don't have the studs, are going to try and do. And I think OU does have the athletes in a Jacoby, in an Eli, to play a little bit more man coverage, as you're saying, because they're also
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Because I was going to speak to how the hell you speak about Jacoby and they don't play the guy? What's that about? I don't understand why they don't. Why isn't he not? Like, I thought he was going to play receiver. We never see him play receiver. And you speaking about him like they're going to, do you know some insider information? Because damn it, they need to play the kid. Because he played well the first 3 weeks of the season and he never played. So I'm just wondering, you brought him up. Like, okay, so you don't know anything. That was just for good measure.
It is yeah, well, so no, I wouldn't say I know anything, but I would say that OU has the guys to play man coverage, and they are electing not to. And they have guys who will play man, who played man early in the year, who are going to get beat when they're playing man. That's 5, that's 26, right? That those are guys who are going to struggle against certain routes. And I also think this kind of highlights the loss of Dolby, because one of the things that Dolby did was take away a ton of the short stuff. He was really good and reactive when it came to all the stuff in the flats. He was there,
Yep.
and he shut that stuff down so fast. And it wasn't that OU did it poorly in this game, but there's misses that two is still having on the perimeter. There's misses where two is struggling to get over where he needs to be, where he's missing tackles that he's got to be able to make. And those things are just massive problems defensively, because those things result in the big play. And that's what OU is giving up. It's the explosive stuff where they've got Ole Miss in a 3rd and 8. They've got them in a 3rd and 11. And they're just not able to execute. But shifting kind of back to the offense, and let's talk second half a little bit in terms of what went wrong there. First half, one of the things OU was doing really well was playing ahead of the sticks. It's the best they've done it all year long, right? That they were 2nd and 3, 3rd and 2. Jackson was taking the easy stuff. They had the dump offs to the back. They had the dump offs to the tight end. There was stuff across the middle. One of the routes that Jackson does throw it really well, which to your point, it's not anticipatory. It's just a throw. You've got to dart in there. And that's that play where the tight end or whoever is in the slot will just run to the sticks, stop, look back for the ball, and Jackson throws it in there. And
That's
it's
that's the spot route. That's a spot. Yeah, the triangle
there you
concept.
go.
Yeah, for sure.
And Jackson throws that really well. In the second half, though, it seemed like they got a little bit desperate. They started asking the offensive line to block a little too long. And if you're on OU Insider, you've already known my beef with the offensive line and what every tackle on that team seems to do. And I don't know if it's they don't have guys with good feet. I don't know what it is, but they have guys who by the time they're on that kind of third shuffle step, D-Mac, they lunge more than any other team I've watched in the SEC all year. And that is coaching. That is coaching and development. When all of your guys continue to do that, right? I'm not the guy to go in there and say, here's how you have to fix it. But I am the one who will recognize that that's not what that is supposed to look like. And when you have consistently every player making the same error, that is a problem, because that is consistent coaching and or player development across the board. And it doesn't show its face in the first half because I don't think OU ran enough stuff that took long enough. They tried to get to some of the deeper things. They tried to get more explosive plays in the second half, it felt, and it just did not work out. But man, it was a tale of two halves. Talk about why things went south in the second half for Jackson, and why OU struggled so mightily to protect him late in the game.
Three things happened, very clear to see. Anybody who wants to go back and watch the game, you'll see three things happen. Number one, we got away from running the football. We did some QB run game second half. We did not, like in the first half, commit to saying we're going to run off tackle, we're going to run some inside stuff. We didn't. We threw a lot more on first down. We were trying to get some trick plays off, right? And obviously those didn't help us. But that was one thing. It was very complimentary for Jackson to have the running game to help support him. And by the way, that's the reason they got 5 sacks in the last 10 snaps. The second thing that happened, go watch it, guys. This one is amazing. They manned up 88 in the first half. He got to roam freely. And as he did last week, he found open areas. He found where they weren't. I mean, the kid just has a knack for getting open. Go watch the second half. I felt so bad for him. They ragdolled him. They put a man on him, bump the entire half. I'm maybe not every play, but 70% of plays and every passing down. Go watch it. They put a man on him bump, and it's not their best guy. It wasn't number 9, but they had another guy on him, and he just basically roughed the little dude. There were a couple of plays he had him in a half Nelson, and I was like, oh man, I just remember. Like I'm telling you, it's not fun when there's somebody playing man on you, and that whole deal. messes you up. Here's a third thing. They took one of their backers and did the exact same thing Auburn did to Hawkins. One of their backers played zone, but his job was
Mm,
to spy Jackson, and Jackson could feel him. You can see when the pocket started to collapse in the first half, Jackson could feel the alleys and would leak through up through the B gap or leak around the edge and could go get some yards. In the second half, he didn't do it. The reason he didn't do it because there's a backer sitting at 5, and the backer's on the other side of the play, and he can see where the alley is going to be, and he's just shading to that alley. So Jackson knows if I step up, he's going to step up, and I'm going to get tackled. And so those three things were critical. If we run the football, they can't consistently do that. 88 that's kind of like a badge of honor, right? Like they're going to bump him, but not bump 13.
yeah,
They're going to
that's
bump him,
crazy
but
that your walk-on receiver.
go watch
Uh,
the second half. I
man,
was like, wow. But you know what? For me, a player like that, McConkey was never the one at Georgia. McConkey was always a guy that they knew they could go make plays with over the middle of the field because they had a guy at X
mhm,
and they had a guy at Z. And even if those guys weren't necessarily better players, by the way, McConkey had a great game today in the NFL, but even if those guys weren't better players, they were threats. So you couldn't just bump McConkey. They probably bumped him sometimes, right? But like 88 was so far and away the number one read anytime he went to a receiver. Ole Miss saw that and said, hey, they're going to throw the ball to this guy. We're going to put a DB on him, man v man, punk him on the line of scrimmage. That's literally what they did. If you guys go back and watch it, I was like, and they had a guy like 6'1", so you could see like a 5-inch
I gotta
disparity.
go
I
back and
mean,
watch this.
you're going to see. I was just like that. And literally everyone else is
Wow.
off 4 or 5 yards, but they're like bumping him. He's in the slot. The guy's still at the line of scrimmage like, nah, bro, I'm not giving you a free release. Very, very, very smart. And here's how that impacts us, right? We have a couple turnovers that hurt us, um, just untimely stuff that hurt us, and then we get to the fourth quarter. And so here's where I'm at with this. The entire game, our offensive line was, I don't know, kind of like smoke and mirrors giving Jackson time. And of course, in the third quarter, they really started to pin their ears back and they started to go to a 2-eye. So when they went to a 2-eye, which means both guards had a guy with a D tackle on them, and then the wide 9, which means both tackles had a guy outside of them. That
Yeah.
was when things got scary because they just poked that middle backer. He said, hey, man, sit at 5. And when he tries to leak, hit his ass. That's when we got in trouble.
Yeah.
And this is where Joe John has to see what happened on Saturday and learn from it. We have to go tight. We have to go max pro. And I don't know how Levy's offense adjusts to quick pressure. I know Leach is a spread and funning gun that allows you to dink and dunk. But when you have to, we had tight. And tight would take the tight end, slide him to the strong side of the formation, the running back opposite the tight end, and it would create a cup of 7. The 5 offensive linemen, the running back backside, the tight end play side, and then we delay or leak those guys late. But we never went to an offensive front where we could say, hey, we've got 7 in to block. And now we're just reading half a field. We got twins receivers or trips to one side, and those guys are running what they're running on half the field, but at least the quarterback has that additional half second. We never did it. Go watch the third and fourth quarter. Barry, you know why they got 5 sacks in the last 10 plays? Go watch it. Go watch their wide 9, their head up to outside. Go watch the
Yeah.
next play. They're wider. Go watch the next play. They're wider. Go watch the next play. All they're doing is getting a faster angle to the football. By the last 2 possessions where they got like 4 of their last 5 sacks, they're like a yard and a half outside of our tackles, and they're just running in a straight angle to the spot where the quarterback's going to be. They can't touch them. The offense has to adjust to that. The OC is in the box. He can see that. I'm not trying to like super bash on Joe John, but Joe John, we can't run drop back and expect our offensive linemen to block. They're giving themselves more angle to not be touched by the linemen, and the linemen have to be on the line of scrimmage. We've got to have an adjustment to that, and that's why I believe we need a OC who is experienced, who has depth to what they do, who is going to bring an attitude, who has a very clear and defined run game and action game off of it, and then a complex route tree. I've never seen our receivers run a curl. We run a 10-yard out or a 10-yard sit where you run 10 yards and you kind of sit out, but we don't
Yeah.
run a curl.
It's not a
And
curl. It's not a curl.
that curl route puts so much pressure on backers because it's an in-cutting route. The curl turns into an in-cutting dig. If the backer shoots the curl, you go to the next window. It's an in-cut behind them. And because we don't have those types of routes, we don't put a ton of pressure on other teams' second half of the field. It's always our guys. Everybody's running an in-cut on us, a ton. But we don't have a lot of that in our offensive playbook. I don't see it, and it's an issue. But you talk about that the second half. Go watch those last two possessions. By the way, anybody can see it. You'll see when we're running the ball, they gotta stay tight because we're coming up inside of that off tackle. When we stop running that off tackle, we're gonna get wide. Oh, we're gonna go wider. I mean, they were literally at the end of the game, they're like a yard and a half outside our tackles, and they're just running in a straight triangle angle to the quarterback while the three techniques push the gap. It was ugly.
And it's frustrating because that is stuff where if you have tackles who have the sound enough technique, they should be able to take that guy out of the play, right? Especially if OU can figure out a way to just make them hesitate for a second. I don't see why there isn't. I think they're watching the tackles all game and they're seeing that they cannot handle anything coming off the line with any kind of speed whatsoever. And then if OU is going to say we're going to take 3 to 4 seconds to get the ball off,
you're feeding
you're feeding into their hands. But that does feel, you're right. I think there probably is an easy adjustment to that. Could you not run draw? Could you not run something to, as you said, do some stuff off to the outside? But what is the adjustment there?
Okay.
But I think go ahead. Unpack that, because then I want to ask you about the tackles specifically.
See, so the technique stuff is the technique stuff. We don't have good enough athletes to meet them at the point of attack. That's that. By the way, that wasn't anything nobody knew going into the game. I mean, everybody knew that going into the game. Let me say that correctly, right? Everybody knew that. So that was nomenclature. What we needed to do was what we did in the first half. We needed to run off tackle. The reason we were having success is because when they went to a ride 9, we would just kick out, lead up through the hole, and get up in there. You brought up an even better point. And on my 10 thoughts on OU Insider, I said, I can't believe we didn't run a speed draw. I can't believe we didn't run a running back delay. I can't believe we didn't run running back shuttle pass. We should run shuttle pass 5 times a game because people pin their ears back and don't even worry about the running back, and they're in the quarterback's lap. It's the perfect time to get that ball through that A gap. If you get that ball through, it's a line. It's like a middle screen with your best runner and a middle screen and just a middle backer. That's why Quentin Griffin was so good at that play. I don't know why we didn't run. You said exactly right. I don't know why. The middle screen that it was kind of like it's kind of like a slip screen. It is a slip screen. That's off the tackle. The slip screen's a great play, just not to Bauer Sharp. Like, dude, you know what I'm saying? Like, why don't you put Raggins in to catch one of those and see what he can do? Why don't you put Petaway in to catch one of those? Bauer Sharp's dropping 3rd and 6s. How dare you go back to, now you're going to get me on principle. How dare you go back to a guy who drops 3rd and 6s when the game is in the balance? By the way, on our team, we would have been like, sit your ass on the bench. Bauer Sharp dropped 2 passes on 3rd down that Jackson put in the breadbasket. Yeah. And then he's the featured guy? What do we do? Oh, now you're going to piss me off.
I'm going to ask you about that. Before we go offensive line technique and that stuff, but when you watch good offenses, one of the things that they do, right? Alabama was great at it with Devontae Smith when he was there. They had like a handful of plays where they said, this is just his play. Why is it that it feels like Roberts and Sharp have plays that are going to? There was a play that Roberts had early in the game where he's running. I think it might have been his one of his 2 catches, and he's getting nowhere with it. He's just going to get OU into a 2nd and medium, right? It has no chance to break for any significant yardage. That to me feels like an adjustment play that doesn't feel like the play to open the game to try and get your athletes going. That feels like get that easy stuff, as you said, to a Raggins, to a Petaway. Why can't Petaway catch a 3-yard screen and get upfield? When you were playing receiver and when they were sitting in the offensive room, right? It felt like when watching the 2000 team, right? It felt like Norman had his stuff. Woolfolk had stuff they tried to get him to. Savage obviously had stuff. He'd take screens and take them 30, 40 yards. It felt like guys who, and then Trent Smith was when you needed a possession, when you needed a score in the red zone, right? Bauer Sharp tiptoeing the sideline on a throw where he leaks out and gets the score. That's what having a really good tight end is for. But when you are, on your own 30, own 40, and you're trying to pick up, get to a second and short, break off a 20 to 25-yard run, how are you as receivers in that room who know you're the athletes feeling about a guy like Roberts and a guy like Sharp seemingly having kind of their stuff, right? Is almost what it feels like. It feels like they have packages for them. Yeah. When you don't have that for Raggins, you don't have that for Petaway, you don't even have that for Brendan Thompson. I will say in this one, it looked like they did dial some stuff up for Brendan Thompson on a handful of plays, but it's not enough.
Did you see what they did? They put him in the slot. But you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't want to talk about, but it's Mickey Mouse. You can't put Brennan Thompson in the slot and then just have him run a slot fade. No, you put Brennan Thompson in the slot and have him run over routes. Have him run routes where the safety says, oh, he's running into the backer zone. And then he runs on top of the backers where they can't see him. To me, it's too simple to miss. But let's get back to what you're talking about. They're drawing plays up in the sand for Bauer Sharp to get the ball. What are we doing? Listen, I would be so upset if I was a receiver and expected to block and show supreme effort. And I don't know. I believe aside from Jacobs, Hester, JJ Hester, one ball outside of the balls that went to Thompson and Hester and Jacobs went to any other receiver the entire game. That is patently like you're gonna get your guys killed. One, half your receivers are not going to be tuned into the game, and the defense said, oh, they're just going to throw the ball to 88. We're going to lock him down, and then JJ Hester's going to get you one.
Let me read the receptions. And then get what Javonte Barnes had 5. Jacob Jordan had 6. Mm-hmm. Hester has 1. Roberts has 1. So that was his 1 reception. Franklin has 1. Guess how many receptions they had Bauer Sharp ended the game with?
10 or 11.
He had 8 receptions. Probably had 11 targets, 10 or 11 targets.
He had 3 drops. Damn it. He drops perfect balls on third down when we need him to catch the damn ball. He had 8 catches. Unbelievable. I don't understand how we're running tight end screen multiple times and we haven't run receiver screen once. We don't have a slip screen. We don't have a man beater. We don't have a zone beater 3v2. We don't have a bubble when there's 2 on our 3 and they've got 2 and we could just run bubble to the inside slot receiver. Like, what are we doing? Those are easy gimme plays, 7 yards. You might pop it. You make a guy miss. You're out the gate, right? We never, ever run. It's not in the playbook. It's not in the playbook. And those are easy. But we got the tight end slip screen and we're going to run 2 a game. What? Like, I don't want to sound like, listen, bro. Coach V, I love you, dog. Like, I really love you, and I appreciate what you're doing with the program. But we Mickey Mouse on the offensive side of the ball. It's Mickey Mouse. Other teams are laughing at the fact that our playbook is so. I get it. We have to, we have to eliminate some stuff, simplify some stuff. But you got to have 3 or 4 screens. I know they have a screen period. They've got to have a screen period. And you practice your slip, you practice your bubble, you practice your screen and go, you practice your man beater, you practice your 3v2, you practice your 2v1, you practice the one where the tackle comes in lead blocks, the tackle and the play side running back come out and lead block. Like, there's a ton of different screens you can run. And we're doing the Bauer Sharp screen special package. And he's out there dropping the damn ball. Drives me crazy.
Yeah, it just feels like That's stuff like Pee Wee, JV, varsity foot, where your best players, your offensive coordinator, one of their jobs is to say who's our fastest guy, which guy's got the most wiggle, like who are these guys? Let's identify them and let's get 4 to 5 plays for this guy. Let's have a couple things for him. Let's do like Florida in the Tebow era was one of the reasons Tebow had so much success wasn't because he was an elite passer. They were so good at getting their playmakers the ball, and they were just good at what they were good at. And Tebow didn't need to be spectacular, right? That Jackson has a way better arm than Tim, right?
Oh,
And they
absolutely.
just but they are good at getting their guys where they need to be in order to have success. That they had things for different guys, and it just worked. Let's get a little general here as we kind of near the back half of the show. Let's talk hot takes a little bit in terms of where we think this thing is going to finish out, DMAC, and where we think this coaching staff is going to see the most change. And I'm going to open it this way. For those who listened to the previous shows last couple weeks, we have talked about kind of who we expect to stay. My first question will be, and maybe this is the easier one. Are there any coaching changes along the defensive side? Because this feels like this next year is going to be make or break for Coach Venables. Do you feel like this year has warranted any defensive coaching changes thus far? Or do you think OU runs it back one more year with how they've recruited and lets Ali keep this same staff and move forward that way?
I don't think there's any mandatory cuts. I think you're always looking to improve. If you do a grade on the position groups, right? At D line as a whole, I'd say it's a B plus, maybe a solid 87, 86. The D ends are probably a little more concerning than the tackles. Tackles, I mean, you got Stone waiting in the wings. You've got, obviously the pup hanging it in. We've got some guys week 1, week 0 who were looking really good that are young. But the DNs, I think that's a position where 34 has to develop. 30 is going to be out of there. 32 will be coming back. 40 will be out of there. I think even 90, right? I don't know if 90 is a guy they ask back next year or if he was a senior this year. So the D end position, you've got to get some of these pups up and running. And here's the thing, RMT included, our D ends don't look like Ole Misses, don't look like South Carolinas, don't look like they just even RMT is a little sawed off relative to what those 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" dudes with very long limbs look like coming from the SEC. So we've got to get a little bit more of that going on or we're in trouble. That's number one. Backers, no changes at backer. It's going to be, I think people may not agree with me, guys, but I guess got to tell you the hard truth. Fundamentally, Danny leaves some stuff to be desired. I saw in the chat, by the way, the chat is off the hook today. Like you guys are like having a pissing match or something in the chat. That's kind of kind of weird. But
hey, can we talk about the tackles thing real quick? Because there was a lot of people debating on Danny having a bunch of tackles, and we talked about this I want to say a couple years ago, not when Murray was playing because we weren't podcasting then. But how do you value the total tackle number as somebody evaluating the game?
well, let me ask you some simple questions. The way defenses are constructed, which positions should make the most tackles?
Linebacker.
Why?
I mean, they're the ones most likely in the gaps.
Okay, there's 2 elementary reasons. Here's the reasons. Number 1, they're closer to the line of scrimmage, and number 2, generally they're covered up, right? They get to turn and run to the football.
Yeah.
Okay, right, and they're closer than safety. Safeties get tackles too, but of course they've got to beat the backers to get to the safeties, right? Unless they're in a safety in the box like Roy. So because your middle backer gets a ton of backers doesn't mean your middle backer doesn't have holes in their game. Doesn't mean your middle backer also doesn't miss more tackles. Doesn't mean your middle backer isn't a deficient person when it comes to pass game or misdirection, right? Or just getting blocked. Danny's good enough to play on Sundays. Anybody who thinks otherwise is kidding themselves or a hater. Danny's not. And maybe this is a hot take. It's definitely my opinion, and I watch a ton of SEC football this year. Danny's not a top 5 middle backer in the SEC this year. He's not. There are 5 middle backers in the SEC simply because we have many plays where the linebacker is making the play and it's a 3-yard additional gain after contact versus playing other teams where when that backer hits you, you're down. And that's a huge part of being a middle linebacker. Again, guys, this is not me hating on Danny, but Danny came into the season as an All-American, AA. When you're AA, you've got to be head and shoulders better than your competition. There are 5 backers in the conference of the SEC who I believe are more fundamentally sound and more physical than Danny. When they have an opportunity to make the play is made. Danny's phenomenal at run throughs. He has great instincts. He's a great athlete, so he can run around, make plays, and make up for other people's mistakes. Guys, he's going to play on Sunday. He's going to play on Sunday. So I don't want to diminish that. But guys, he has not played better this year than he did last year. And next year, it'll be interesting to see who's flanking Kip. Now, I'll say this: 11 needs to show up and show more. I'll be interested to see how 20 does. I want to see Lewis Carter, how he does. He's got a year under his belt this year because he was a junkyard dog in high school. And if and obviously high school versus the SEC, right? But if he can bring that level of talent to the SEC, I said it in the preseason, he is exactly what an SEC linebacker looks like. And I think by next year, Kip is exactly what a Grizzly seasoned SEC backer looks like. So that group's in good shape. Safeties, Hall. Peyton has not looked great this year. I think he's playing out of position. I believe Peyton is a better player at 2's position than 2 is at his position. Again, I don't want nobody to want to fight me, but guys, 2 has Billy Bowman is a Jag this year. It's crazy to say that. And I swear, guys, these aren't hot takes. Go watch the film. He's had more games where he's been a minus overall in the games than a plus. And the coaches may say otherwise because they're giving plus and minuses for distinct things within the play. But in terms of being a game changer or just being a stabilizer, 3rd and 7, getting the PBU, 2nd and 9, finding out the running action and carrying that tight end so the quarterback can't throw the ball. A screen in the hole, he's coming into the hole and boom, stoning the play. Or 3rd down against Tennessee and the play to seal the game, at least touch the quarterback. He doesn't touch him in the gap. So safeties, but corner, Valai's he's got to answer to what the hell is going on that corner. The corners are the O-line of the defense. The corners are the O-line of I don't know if that's a hot take, but again, it's the truth. Teams are picking on our corners, and it's funny that they're not even picking on the freshmen. They've watched enough film to say, freshman's kind of sound. We're not going to pick on him too much.
Yeah.
This 26 guy, let's try him. This number 4 guy, let's try him.
Jeez.
And so I see that and I say to myself, there's got to be something there. So on the defensive side of the ball, I would say Valai's job is probably the most in question. I don't know if I'm telling you, Kanai should be better than he is. I promise you. Malone has regressed from who he was earlier in the season and against some good competition. Malone played well against Tennessee. He had a bad route, but he played well. It hurts when you got Gentry out. Gentry's your best corner, and he's been injured all year, right? That's the stalwart who would have been the starting guy.
He definitely is, yeah.
Instincts, physicality, lane, speed, all that stuff, right? Gentry just has to get healthy. I'd say Valai is a guy who you got to ask questions about. Aside from that, I think defensively, I think Chavis is a guy who we've said for 3 years, he's done way better this year. So I don't want to.
Way better, 100%.
But relative to the D tackles, the D ends, they leave a lot to be desired.
So let's go offense, and then we'll get on out of here tonight, D-Mac. Is there so the general sentiment among the fan base is all of the coaches are on the chopping block, save Emmett Jones. However, as the season has progressed, with the fact that 88, the walk-on, is your only guy who appears to be able to make any kind of meaningful plays when you have a guy like Petaway, he's not a true freshman like Reagan's. You give him a little grace. You give Kearney a little grace. You give Carrion a little grace. Petaway was a big-time recruit who by all should have been quote-unquote ready. And You've got guys like Hester who they don't seem to have the game quite understood. It does look like Hester has gotten more comfortable. I will give him that, but it does not look like he's going to make you any kind of big plays. Is there is there anything to be said for Emmett Jones and where he stands? Do you think Josie and BV are just going to say, you know what, whoever comes in, whatever he wants to do is what's going to happen? Or do you think Jones is so much of a recruiting stalwart on this team that he's got to stay around?
So it's 50-50. He's a position where here's the deal. Tight ends coach, receiver coach are generally positions where their primary job is to recruit and get good athletes on the field. And so I say that to say Emmett Jones is in a position where his value and what he brings to the table in recruiting nullifies what some other OC may want to come in. That's a quote unquote his guy. And so for me, here's how I look at it. If we're bringing in an OC Barry, the first thing I want, if it's a home run, I mean, everybody knows who my guys are. It's funny. I got some guys on Twitter who are like Mackey, you're crazy. Coley sucks. But like, bro, like, I always say, like, let me ask you, were you amazing at algebra the first time you learned it? Did you actually get better? You know what I'm saying? When you failed a test, like sometimes people have to go through some things and then they improve. He's been there for the revitalization of their offense. They have the offense we need. But more important than the X's and O's, like I said on OU Insider, Texas State's OC might be more impressed by our trophy case. You know what I'm saying? By our locker room. He's going to spend a month just wowing the locker room. Like, I don't want a guy who's going to come in here and see our talent and be like, oh my God, they look good. I want a guy who's going to come in here and be like, oh, that's all you guys have at tackle? Oh, that's the best running back you guys have? Really? You guys don't have 4 screens you guys run? Whoa, whoa, whoa. You didn't know in the SEC you've got to run a double power? You didn't know that? You got to run a buck power? You didn't know that? Right? Like, I want a guy who knows the SEC is going to help us prepare ourselves for the SEC. I don't want Texas State's. I don't want Pitt's dude. Pitt's dude doesn't know how to win in the SEC. I want a top echelon guy. And here's the thing. When you bring those guys in, you know what they want? Autonomy and power. So if you ask me
Yeah.
about Emmett Jones, hell yeah, I want to keep Emmett. I mean, he has made, I wouldn't even say lemonades out of lemons, but your top 5 guys go down. And he's found a little 5'9" walk-on dude who's going out there and making plays. You gotta that's
Balling.
something. You know what I'm saying? The kid's balling.
Yeah.
Facts. So, but do I want Emmett Jones? And we got to get Texas State's OC versus we can't have Emmett Jones, but we get to have Willie Stein. We get to have Coley. I don't care what nobody says. To me, Coley makes a ton of sense. I don't even know if he wants to be an OC at OU. I'm just saying that's the guy, the kind of environment we
That
need.
type of guy. Yeah.
That's what we need. He's a bomb recruiter. He's an assistant head coach at the perennial college in college. He was a recruiting coordinator. He has called plays, which means he's learned from his mistakes. He's gotten back
Yeah.
into a co-OC role. Actually, they said he may not be the co-OC. I don't know what he is in terms of what Georgia says.
I mean, he's
But
identified as the co-OC on
it
their page, so
it,
I don't know
it
what that
makes
means.
so much sense. Give me A&M, their offense. I don't hate it anymore. LSU, their offense, I don't hate it. Like, we've got to go play SEC football. Like, what are we kidding ourselves? OU is
Yeah.
not prepared for what the SEC has to offer. We have to admit that. The first thing to get to the stage and the level where you want to be is admitting it. We're not good enough today. Baker Mayfield's not coming into the locker room. Kyler Murray's not coming into the locker room. Lincoln Riley's ass better not be welcome into the damn locker room. All right. I don't want Cal's OC because they've got some new rendition of the spread. I don't want, you know what I'm saying? Indiana, Shanny, and I think he's the guy we discussed the very first day. You said, Mackey, who do I said? Shanahan, because I love his offense. He's the floor for me. If we get Shanahan, I can get behind that. And we've got to get
Yeah.
together as an offensive staff. I think Shanahan's a guy that if he comes, Emmett Jones' job is probably safe. Honestly, I think Beatonbow probably gets another year. Shanahan comes just because of his class and some of the brass that Beatonbow has. That's not me saying I think he deserves to stay, but I think a guy like Shanahan won't have as much say as a big time SEC guy. Um, Coley has called plays. He called plays at Georgia. He also called plays in
Yep.
Miami. He's called for multiple years. And by the way, his offenses were averaging about 26 points a game. And this is when they were running pull the guard, tackle, power football and action off of that. He's been back at Georgia since they transitioned to a multiple offense where they throw more on first down. They do a lot more versatile stuff. They run some spread principles. So he was there running their old stuff. He went to Miami as an OC as well, and then he's come back since the last two quarterbacks have come in, and they've changed the identity of the offense. It to me, I don't care what nobody says. You can't tell me that doesn't make sense. And then he's going to bring guys with him, an attitude with him, championship coat with him, championship eyes. He's going to go and say on offense, this is trash. I know he is, because Bob Stoops came. Let me tell you what Bob Stoops came. Bob Stoops came and was like, those are our linebackers. Bob Stoops came and said, where the hell are our wide receivers? I was sitting on the DB side. Bob Stoops comes in like, where the hell are the wide receivers? By the way, Curtis Fagan, Andre Woolfolk, DBs. We're DBs. Bob's like, this ain't it. Gerald Jackson and Mack,
this ain't it.
It was like, this ain't it. Right. And so, hey, everybody has their opinion. I'm going to definitely speak mine and voice facts, data, numbers, experience to back up my opinions. If you got opinions, do the same. There's a couple of guys on Twitter who won't leave me. I like it. I love it. You know who's been on? You're gonna laugh at this one. He I don't know if he listens to the pod, but I think he does. Oh, Data Kyle, baby. Data Kyle was on my ass last night.
I saw that.
I said, Data Kyle.
Kyle.
Yeah, that's my guy, man. Kyle D is my guy. I don't know if he listens to the pod.
Kyle.
You know how that goes. But no, I don't know, guys. We've got a lot of stuff. Barry, you've had a week to kind of think about it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Who are you thinking?
So I liked the Coley. I like that direction only because of what OU wants and needs to be. And I think if you just look at the programs where the air raid style of offense has worked, it has only worked in the SEC at a championship level if you have a guy like Saban running the bones of your program and already have a culture that is there to play winning defense and be smash mouth. Say what you want about Orgeron, his teams wanted to smack the hell out of people when they went out there and played football. And it worked because they were able to have some nasty with Joe Burrow, and they had a downhill run game. They had a running back who was a Swiss Army knife who could catch the ball, who could run. In Hilaire, right? When Clemson never really ran. Clemson was a physical football team that they ran their QB. The QB power was in there in what they ran with Watson. They got downhill on you. Travis Etienne was a nasty downhill running back who just had some wiggle, and they out-physicaled Oklahoma. They didn't fit. If you go and get a finesse offense, OU is not there with the athletes to have early success. You're just not going to. I especially success that is at a championship level. It's just not going to happen, right? You see a team like Kentucky who can compete with some of these big boys on a week in, week out basis to some extent, right? They're doing that because they have learned how to play physical football with the type of defense that Mark Stoops plays. Are they great? No, but OU still isn't there with the physicality on the offensive side of the ball. They're close on the defensive side of the ball. They're not there on the offensive side of the ball. And
you saw who Kentucky lost to Saturday by 2 scores? Auburn. 2 scores. 24-10.
Yeah, I saw that they
we can't be the Kentucky. Yeah, bro, we can't be the Kentucky of the SEC, bro. We can't be Kentucky.
But the issue is OU is not going to play championship football until they have instilled a culture on the offensive side of the ball that is smack you in the mouth. And Coley might be a go-between. Coley might be the guy before the guy, or he might be the guy you bring in to help create the type of system where the next guy can come in and have some success.
Okay, let me ask you a
But
question.
I don't
Let me ask you a
see.
question.
Go
Let
for
me
it.
ask you. This is what I want for everybody. This is what I want to ask everybody.
And then
What is
I'm
it?
going to bring up another name for the chat too here in just a
Let's do
second.
it. I love it. What do people want our offense to look like in the SEC? Well, let me just ask Barry. Screw the people. Barry, what do you want our offense to look like? If you had to pick a team,
I
if you had to pick a team, like I want our offense to run like that team, what team are you picking in America?
I would say Georgia.
Like, what are we talking about? What are we
If you're going to
talking
play
about?
defense, if you have the best defensive coach in college football in Venables, save Kirby Smart, why would you not want to try and emulate what Georgia has done? And you're also going to get some excitement around it from the fan base. And Georgia is not having explosive plays. They won the championship game that they've won in the playoff because they have been explosive. And they've had success because they can be explosive, but they are still a physical, smack you in the mouth team. And that is why they can go play at Texas and beat them by multiple scores when OU can't hang.
Well, they beat the hell out of them on the edges on defense. Georgia beat the hell out of Texas's O line. But here's the ingredients, guys. Number one, we've got to be multiple. So we can't do the offense we run. We can't. By the way, Levy's offense is not going to be good enough, but he doesn't have to be good enough at Mississippi State. He just needs to be competitive. He understands the job at
Yeah.
hand. OU doesn't have that responsibility. We got to play for ships. We've got to be multiple. Number two, we've got to be able to run the football when we need to. We've got to be able to do it. I look at right. I look at LSU. They struggle running the football. They can sling it. Nussmeier, whatever his name is, solid QB. He played his tail off against SC. He played his tail off against A&M last night. A&M struggled on both sides, passing and running, until they went to the puppy. When the puppy came in, they couldn't stop the run. That kid killed them. That kid killed LSU and really took over the game. Alabama, Saban's Alabama, but who were his OCs? Sark,
Yeah.
right? Who were his OCs? Kiffin, right? Like, who was the OC the last year before he retired? Who was the OC when they had Tua? It was Sark and Kiffin, wasn't it? Tua is Sark and
I
Kiffin.
think Sark was there for one of the. So they had a different guy, wasn't it? It might have been Bill O'Brien with Jalen, and then I think he brought in
Yeah,
Sark.
yeah, yeah. The point is,
Yeah,
what did
yeah,
Texas
and
do?
yeah.
What did Texas do? What did Texas do 3 years ago? They went and got the best teams OC. Like, what are we talking about? By the way, what did everybody at OU say about Sark? He was trash. Well, is he trash? He wasn't good at calling plays at SC. I mean, at Alabama. That's why they got rid of him. Isn't that what everybody's saying now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, like,
That
like,
was a good point.
like if we say, what does OU need to look like? You know who we need to look like, and he just isn't welcome back. We need to look like Lincoln Riley. He's just not welcome back at OU. If Lincoln
Yeah.
Riley has an ass kicking defense, he's a beast. But I just don't trust the man's character. But like, you guys are talking about some of these offenses, like, oh, we need these people. Like, those guys don't know championship football. They don't know championship football. We need somebody who's going to come in and say, Bob Stoops got the job, and guess what he knew? He knew what it took to win. Bob came in and said, "Men, let me show you this film." He showed us Jaquez Green. He showed us Ike Hilliard. He showed us Rydell Anthony. He showed us the freak. He showed us Lot. They showed us like play, scheme, X's and O's. That stuff matters. But he said, guys, Mackie, can you do with Jaquez? No, I can't. I don't run a 4.28, coach, but I can do my assignment correctly every play. I'm gonna catch the damn football, and I'm a dog, right? I'm gonna go in the hole and hit somebody. But he made us elevate. Don't bring me Pitts, dude, and tell him you expect the kids to elevate. The Pitts dude's gonna be happy to be at OU. He needs 2 to 3 years. Don't bring me a Liberty. What? Liberty? So he's gonna teach the guys how to run against Auburn and South Carolina. And who we got next? We got Missouri and LSU. I don't believe it. Somebody said Sark is trash. Sark ain't trash. I like to say it too, but he ain't trash, guys. He runs an offense that gets the job done and has gone into some very difficult places and won football games. I don't agree with Sark is trash, and I hate the Texas Longhorns as much as anybody. Our offense is trash right now. And we've got to
Yeah.
do a good job. And I think the last thing to say, being I pass it back, I know I'm kind of over talking today,
Oh,
is
you're
this.
good, man. Let's go.
It's not a 3-year fix. I'm all in on the small school guys. If they're gonna get a year to fill out the SEC, if they're gonna get a couple cycles to get their players in, we don't
Mm-hmm.
BV don't got that. BV gotta hit a home run. There's no way. There's no way you don't bring a guy in who can come in day one and say, hey, coach, that ain't gonna cut it in the SEC. And how can a guy do that if he doesn't know that type of football? How? And that is the people who are like, they're just pulling numbers. Look at the difference in the offense and this and this and this. And like, I get it. I hear you. Respect. I'm not trying to disrespect you, dude. But when they go between them white lines and this guy is telling us we're okay because we're 3 times better than what it looked like at Liberty, that still don't mean it's good enough to beat LSU. That still don't mean it's good enough to beat Bama. And I would feel
Yeah.
much more comfortable with the guy who says, hey, dog, this is how we beat Bama the last 3 years. This is what we did. This is what our guys had to be willing to do. This is the numbers that the guys in the weight rooms were putting up that gave them, you know what I'm saying, that told us we had the strength. Like, those are
Yeah.
all measurable, right, data points that matter. Period.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I see Hartline. I'd take him in a second because he knows what it takes. Stein is Willie Stein is probably my number 1 pick. I just think it's a pipe dream. A guy like Coley, a co-O coordinator at a place like LSU. Um, Bama is different. DeBoer, I don't really know. Some of maybe a retread from Saban's old staff that we're not thinking of. Right? Is like I'm just telling you, it's gonna take something like that, in my opinion. It could be wrong, but that's Damian's opinion. And I'm gonna tell you why my opinion. I'm gonna tell you how to execute my opinion. I'm not gonna just throw shit out there. To me, that makes the most sense.
I think OU faces a problem that has been really, it's still the Lincoln Riley problem on that side of the ball. Is DMAC that they're too far away now from physical play on the
Yeah,
offensive side of the ball.
100%.
The
100%.
last time they were a physical smash you in the mouth team was when they played the Rose Bowl on January 1st against Georgia. That's the last time this team had some nasty to them on the offensive side of the ball, right? Even 2018, Alabama just kicked their stuff in, man. And it
Man,
wasn't yet. Yes, they
if it
made
wasn't
the score
Kyler,
respectable.
that's because Kyler was a magician. That's
Yeah,
why. If it wasn't,
but
even Baker would
but
have got beat. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah.
I'm sorry. That's
No,
my
no,
person.
you're
Go
good,
ahead.
brother. Yeah, I agree, man. I think OU is too far away from that, and you've seen what physicality will do on one side of the ball because they've brought it back on the defensive side of the ball. The defensive line knows that is a different. If they had this defensive line when they played Georgia in 2017, they're national champs. Period. I don't
100%.
think anybody in the chat's going to argue with that. You
100%.
you are too far away from physical play that I don't know if you could bring in a non. And you're right, it could be a lot of different guys. That they're Kevin Wilson is a name that's going to be out there, right?
I got beat up for him, bro.
Well,
And they can't give me a good reason why. He sucks. He's a retread. He's not an OU guy. He was phenomenal while here. He's been really good in other places, including Ohio State recently. And Tulsa's offense does not suck. Like, yeah, okay, they're not a great program. Duh. When have they ever been a great program? I like Wilson better than a ton of other options for sure. Sorry.
and he would bring some physicality to the team. He's the kind of guy who, as a head coach, leaves something to be desired. And I won't put all that stuff out here on the pod because I know a few things with how they're not too far away from me. I trained some of the TU guys, and it's just I know some things on that situation. But as an OC, with what they need right now, they need a guy who's going to drop some MFers and tell you to do what you need to do and go hit this guy, right? I think they lost a little bit of that when Gundy left. I think Gundy played a little bit of that role, right? Of he was a throwback coach who had some nasty to him, who was there during the early Stoops years, who saw what it took to play championship football. I think in the PC world we live in now, I think it's too PC for him to come back. That is just my opinion. I know fans throw his name out there. I think it's going to be another year or two before he's at a place. I just think it's regardless of what happened and whether or not we think it should happen, I think that is the reality of it. But I think OU's too far away from physical play, man. I think you're now what? That was 2017. So you are
Yep.
or 18, I guess, day one of 2018. You are 6 years. You are you are a class, multiple, a class and a half, right? I mean, you are multiple generations now at this point away from physical football on the offensive side of the ball.
Can I throw salt on the ones?
Go
The
for it.
coach ain't changed. The coach ain't changed. The coach ain't changed. There's no excuse for beating Bo. I love beating Bo. He's a good guy. Shook his hand. But damn it, he was here. He's coaching all the kids he recruited. He's coaching all the nil deals he did. He's got all the transfer, like you know what I'm saying, like Emmett Jones and even Joe John and some of those guys. They're not coaching all their guys. They haven't been here for 4 cycles. We've had Beaton Bo here 10 years. These are his guys. He's known for 3 years we're going to the SEC. Look at the product on the field. Again, I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? Like the product on the field does not say that he had a 3-year plan to make sure we were going to be prepared for this. That is malpractice, as that's part of the function of your job. That aspect of his job, he has failed. That the aspect of in-game adjustments, he's failing. He's got some great recruits coming in, and I think we need to take that into consideration. He's got some skins on the wall. I think we can't just throw those to the wind. But his most recent production, it's not good. It's not good. And so
It's not good.
I think we have to speak to, like you say, Emmett Jones. By the way, DeMarco Murray, bro, what are we doing? The last 3 years, it's not good. We have the least talented running back room in the SEC. Who has a worse running back room than us? We don't have a
Vandy
running
has a
back.
guy who's pretty good.
What? They
I can't
got
remember
2
his
of them.
name.
They got 2
Yeah.
of them. But I got like 600 yards. We don't have a running back with 400 yards. I don't think we had a running back
like 380. I think it's like 370 or 380.
Look it up.
3
right
yards
now.
a carry.
Look it up right
Let's go.
now.
Let's go. Okay.
I don't think
I remember
last year.
That's hilarious.
What is it?
All right, I was dead on. 374 yards, 2 touchdowns on 104 carries.
Oh my God.
3.6 yards a carry for your running back number 1 at the University of Oklahoma.
Man, how many Heisman running backs do we have?
Brother.
Like 5?
That makes me I'm gonna look up one more number.
Just
to throw salt on the wound.
Don't you dare look up Tyree. I don't want to know his numbers. He's done.
No. All right, check. Okay. You ready for leading receiver for the year?
It's Burks.
No. It is Bauer Sharp.
He passed him
32 receptions, 242 yards is your leading receiver at the University of Oklahoma.
But to throw salt on that, Burks was the leading receiver, hadn't played since Tennessee. Saturday's game. He had not played since Tennessee. He was the leading receiver going into the game Saturday. That isn't. Listen, we need.
He still has the most touchdowns. He still has the most touchdowns. 3.
Yeah.
What is going on? This is the first time OU has 3 straight double-digit losses since '98.
I can probably remember the games. Let's see. Definitely Texas. Okay. Definitely A&M. Oh my! God, A&M beat the brakes off of them in '98. Ooh, that winning them. Ooh, Wrecking Crew defense. Oh man, they got their asses whooped.
That
And then,
win, that is a throwback name right there. Wasn't he a
oh,
cowboy for a really long? Yeah. He's a
yeah.
cowboy.
Middle backer for the Cowboys for sure,
Yeah.
100%. Anyway, OC man, guys, listen. I've said this since last week. Throw your OCs at me. I'm interested to know. Don't tell me mine suck without offering a better option. Willie Stein, I'm in on. Penn State's OC is solid. They run the football. I believe with their OC, we could run the football because I don't know if you guys saw. I watch football all day. Yesterday, Barry, they had 6 linemen in the game. They had an offensive lineman off the ball. He was like a sniffer, and they were putting him in motion pre-snap, wham blocking, bro. He was wham blocking like a pin and pull, like he was the pull. I mean the pin. He was playing like a receiver, going in, and oh my God, he was destroying the alley. And you could just see those guys as up the alley, up the alley. I'm like, that might be somebody who could bring some juice. That one makes
Hmm.
sense to me. I saw some people put Junior Adams. Junior Adams is my childhood friend. Like we played Pee Wee together. We've stayed in contact. I talked to Junior
Yeah, that's a
4 days ago.
podcast name. That's a podcast name. People who've listened to the pod for a
Yeah,
while,
yeah,
Junior Adams has come up before.
yeah. That's my guy. But he's a co-OC at Oregon. Obviously, I don't know if he
Yeah,
calls plays. We don't talk too much of that kind of stuff. We talk life and kids and shit like that more than we talk football.
sure. Yeah.
I'd love to. I mean, if Junior was at OU, oh my God, that'd be crazy. Like that, I'd have the best sources in the program for sure.
Let's go. Let's
Uh,
go.
but I'm interested to know, guys. Give me who you guys think are good options. I don't hate on people who say Mackey, the small school guy who can come and kill it. But I posted on my Twitter. I said, name one. Let's see if any of these guys can name a small school OC who's gone into the SEC and has had immediate success.
Mm.
And do you know a couple of them are SC coordinators who went to small schools as a head ball coach and then came back to the SEC, but those don't count, right? Because those guys knew SEC first, right? So you're an SEC OC, you go to like whatever Liberty, and then you come back as an SEC head ball coach. You already know the SEC. So I'm talking about these guys who
Would you say Urban was probably the
that was
best?
that was the one. I said, dang. And when I said it on Twitter, I said last 20 years, and Urban's like 05, 06. So Urban is absolutely a correct answer. Somebody brought up
Yeah.
I want to say Mullen maybe, but he was an OC, left and came back. So I said, we gotta
Yeah,
scratch that.
Mullen was a SEC guy. He was kind of in and out. I want to say he had 2 SEC stops, but I could be wrong on that.
Hey,
Mm.
it's not that week. We could lose to May.
Oh,
Listen to me, Barry.
is
We could
oof,
lose to May. I'm just letting you
man.
guys know we could lose to May. Like guys, we don't score enough to be able to just dominate anybody. We could lose to May. It's absolutely
That's
possible.
trouble in paradise if that happens, DMAC. The whole coaching staff might be gone if OU loses to Maine. They might not make it to the bus,
They
man.
they
In
owe
a home
BV
game.
they owe BV too much money. They owe BV. BV ain't going nowhere. He's got too much money this
Man.
year. I would
Oof,
say he's got
that
too.
would be
But
rough.
we're not going to lose. You guys know I'm not going to pick a L. But I am saying, like, dude, when you can't score, dude, it's hard. Like one turnover, and then
Yeah,
we were on campus. Was it Houston? How much pressure was there at that game? Like it was immense pressure because we couldn't score. So
it
just
was
just
awful.
yeah, oh man, that was not fun. Um Sign me up for Stein or Coley. By the way, when you told me Wilson, I think we could do way worse. Wilson is the guy who will prepare the job for the next guy. Wilson's the guy who will come here, rehab his his um his credentials, and then go and be, Wilson could kill in the Big 12 now. Go be at Cincinnati.
Oh,
Go be at,
that's
you
a
know what I'm
good point.
saying? Right? Wilson comes in 2 years, rights the ship, right? We get somebody else queued up, and then Wilson leaves and sets it up for someone else. To me, that makes a ton of sense. For those who just don't like him because we had a bunch of other sucky, OU retreads. Wilson's not an OU alum, and Wilson has skins in the wall before he came to OU. And Wilson ran a damn good offense at OU, and recently ran a damn good offense at
Man,
Ohio State.
look at Chip Kelly, his
Yes,
struggles at UCLA. He's a great
yes,
example of
yes,
a guy who was in the vein of Wilson at around the
yes,
same time frame too.
yeah.
And just because you don't have success, because head coaching, this is what, not to like inside info people, but you just don't know what all is going on from a head coaching perspective. It's different than just having one job that is coordinating the offense. It's just it's a different thing. DMAC, before we get out of here, man, the last little closing thoughts, and then we'll shut her down for the night, man.
Yeah. I feel like we had somebody ask a super question. No, did we not have one tonight?
Let's see. Oh, the question was, we had let's go back and find it. I believe we had a
Yeah,
super chat. John Dickinson, run some China concepts. What do you think about that?
I don't get it. That is it over my head? What
Okay.
is that? What's China concepts?
It is I believe that is a air raid term, like another air raid term for some different things. So
I know
could be off.
ninja.
You're
I
the
know
guy.
ninja. I know ninja. I don't
Okay.
know China. Ninja is a term I know.
Okay.
China, but who knows? That's jargon. So maybe there's some secret
There's a
jargon
lot of
behind it.
stuff OU could be running right now that they're not running. So, like, how about like anything under center, anything that like. So it's tough day in paradise, man. But I think that was the only one for tonight, guys. Thank you all so much. The chats on these things every episode seems like it's filling up more and more. We're getting a lot of views on this thing. Go sign up for the membership. $2.99. We're gonna break down what Joe John did offensively. And DMAC, what I really want to show people is what he did the first drive. I want you to kind of
Yep.
break down the way he did it out of the almost the same personnel the whole first drive. I don't know if they changed personnel that whole
Two
drive.
tight ends, one back, 21.
Yeah. I think that was the whole drive. So we'll talk about that. If you guys are members on OUinsider.com, go over to OUinsider.com, grab yourself a membership. It is the best insider info. If you guys want to know about recruiting and you want to know what's going on in terms of the coaching staff, I see all the 4 and 8 out there, man. Holy cow, brother. That's it is it wouldn't be so bad if Texas wasn't having if Texas also was not great, it would maybe feel a little different. But I think because Texas is doing well, DMAC, it just is a salt on the wound. But DMAC, before we get out of here, man, just thoughts and prayers to you. For those who don't know, DMAC, just top of the show, I won't talk about it, but man, going through a tough time, and we're thinking about you. I know Sooner Nation is incredibly supportive of you. So, man, a lot of love for you and the family. Me and DMAC talk a bunch offline, guys, and he just, for those who don't know, fantastic guy. When we started this podcast, man, we called it a passion project, and that's what it has been. It's been really fun. We enjoy doing this. But then sometimes real life happens and you gotta step away for a little bit. But these are always a blast, man. DMAC, kind of one more round real quick. I'll pass it back to you before we close out.
49ers 27-10, baby. I needed that. We over here dominating these guys. I got my 4 screens up right here, so I can.
Let's
you know
go.
what I'm saying? No, but it's going to be interesting. I think for me, I'm going to be paying close attention to the X's and O's. I think this is a audition, an interview process for Joe John. By the way, probably not for OU, but for some other job. I don't think that OU can afford to just internally promote. But if he shows some promise and the offense gets dramatically better, right? I think that's good for him, and it's going to open some opportunities for him. I was pleasantly surprised. Obviously, I think that my own personal biases were to Seth just because of personal relationships. They got rid of the right guy, and Joe John showed some things on offense that we hadn't done before. So that was really good. I want to watch the defense. I want to see if they continue to play hard. I want to see if he'll run more man. I bet you when coach self recruits and self scouts, excuse me, the defense, he will recognize that the backers on the second level and the corners on the outside. Again, if you go watch the film, and you watch the TV version, the DBs are looking in, they're in zone. And to me, that's a fundamental fix. That's a pretty simple correction if we, look at it. But man, it's gonna be a hot seat next year, which means we've got to make the right hire, which means we've got to be competitive and really win some of these. I think we got 4 games left. We've got to win some of these games and figure out an LSU, Alabama, Missouri. I mean, Maine, God forbid if we lose to Maine. I think everybody's fired except BV at that point. But now we'll beat Maine.
Yeah,
We'll beat them, but we could lose.
yeah.
I don't want people to be surprised if it's a more difficult game than people expect. It's not gonna be a game where it's not like one of those seasons where we're kicking everybody's ass. I bet you if we play Tulane next week, we could potentially lose. And obviously we almost lost, but like the psyche of the team now versus the psyche of the team in September,
different.
it's just different. And so that's a game we're gonna need to show up prepared in the first quarter to put our foot on their neck early so that these guys are killing me so that they don't get confidence. But no, guys, hey, appreciate you guys, man. It's always a pleasure. I always am peeking in the comments to see what's happening. If you guys see me laughing, it's because somebody says something that was funny. You guys were having at it in the comments today. They were going at it. They were calling each other idiots and all kind of stuff. But no, man,
great.
appreciate you guys for locking in. Salute to all of you guys. We started YouTube like a month ago. We've got 1,000 subscribers, guys. Our goal is to get to 5,000. We're just gonna keep dishing the content. You guys continue to support us. And hey, looking forward to bringing you guys value. Hopefully you guys enjoy what you hear from us. God bless you guys. And man, I'm always appreciative.
Absolutely. Guys, go follow Damian at D_Mack13, at Dame That Dude on Instagram. Follow me at BWiseFitness, at letter BWISE Fitness. And go over to OUinsider.com, get yourself a membership. And want to wish everybody a happy Halloween. Now go out there, be safe, make good choices, do the right things. Don't eat a ton of candy. That's my health side talking, but go have fun. Keep the kids safe. Sooner Nation, thank you all for tuning in today, and we will see you soon.